नंबर वेरीफाई नहीं करे, नंबर वेरीफाई करे इधर नंबर वेरीफाई Good morning, students. Welcome back to our economics classes here. So as we have started in the previous class, we have started with our agriculture sector. As I told you, it is an important chapter from exam point of view, where you will be getting LAQ, SAQ and VSAQs here. So yesterday we have done with our low productivity, causes for low productivity in agriculture. And today I'm going to explain few more important topics, important questions from this chapter. Okay, as I said, LAQ, SAQs and VSAQs you are going to get from this chapter. So today we will be doing few SAQs of this chapter. So the first topic we are going to discuss today is Green Revolution, which is important from exam point of view here. It may come for 5 marks or for 10 marks also it may come. See how this question will be asked. Explain the impact of new agricultural strategy on Indian economy, or explain the impact of Green Revolution on Indian economy. So anyway, they may ask this question. So your question will be, explain the impact of new agricultural strategy on Indian economy, or impact of Green Revolution on Indian economy. Don't get confused here when they ask you new agriculture strategy. New agriculture strategy is nothing but our Green Revolution. Okay. So now coming to this Green Revolution here. What is Green Revolution? Revolution means sudden increase in the output. Okay. Green Revolution is related to agricultural sector. So to increase the productivity levels in the agriculture, the strategy was introduced, that is increase the productivity levels in the agriculture. What our government has done, they introduced high yield variety seeds. High yield variety seeds are nothing but which we call it as hybrid variety of seeds. So high yield variety seeds were introduced in our country to increase the agricultural productivity and production of output, because in the mid 50s, India was suffering from food scarcity. Means though India is an agricultural economy, the food grain production is not much in our country, with which death rates were also high due to lack of food, and all death rates were also high. So later on in 1960s, our government has taken the measure to implement the new agricultural strategy, where this high yield variety of seeds were introduced in the country. The crops which will produce more output. These high yield variety crops were first introduced in Mexico. Later on in 1960s, it has come to India, and in India, first they introduced these high yield variety seeds in some parts of India, not throughout the country, in some parts, to test whether these will be successful in our country or not. So once they have implemented, it has become successful. Food grain production has increased. So it continued throughout the country. Means the high yield variety seeds were introduced throughout the country. So this is how Green Revolution has started in our country. So if you see, the process of Green Revolution in India began in 1960s. So in 1960s, they introduced the concept of Green Revolution. And in the country, the project was named as Intensive Agricultural Development Program. Later, in 114 districts, it was named as Intensive Agricultural Areas, and 1960s and 66 and 67, they named it as High Yielding Variety Program. So the new agricultural strategy was started to boost up the usage of high yield variety seeds along with chemical fertilizers to increase the productivity of agriculture. So these high yield variety seeds along with chemical fertilizers both together will increase the production in the agriculture, productivity levels in agriculture. So this concept was introduced in 1966-67. Okay, so this is called as Green Revolution. Simple concept you remember. What is Green Revolution? Introduction of high yield variety seeds along with chemical fertilizers increases the agricultural productivity in the country. Why they introduced this one? Because when during 1950s, immediately after India got independence, our food grain production was not sufficient to the increasing population. And when we are importing the food grains from other countries, 200% of tax were charged on the food grain import. So, with which our economy was going into recession. Money was not sufficient to import the goods at that much higher rate. So, government has introduced the concept of high yield variety seeds. So, first, this was introduced in Mexico in 1930s only. Later on in 60s, they have got this hybrid variety of seeds to our country. And with this, now we can see what is the impact it is having. As we all know, productivity levels in agriculture has increased. So what it has an impact on our Indian economy? Impact on Green Revolution on Indian economy. So the first impact it is having is increase in agricultural productivity. Increase in agricultural production and productivity, right? So through this green revolution, our agricultural production has increased. Means overall, once the food grain production, once this green revolution hybrid variety seeds were increased, our rice production has increased, wheat crop production has increased, along with that non-food crops like oil and all have increased over here. So here we can see agricultural productivity, production of major crops in India have increased. So by the year 1976, India has become self-sufficient in food grain production. So with these high yield variety crops, with these high yield variety seeds, in 10 years, India became self-sufficiency in food grain production. So this is the impact it is having on our Indian economy. You can see here, when these high yield variety seeds were introduced, in 10 years, India achieved self-sufficiency in food grain production, which was not sufficient earlier. Before 1960, after independence, we used to import from the other countries. This import tax was very high and people are suffering from drought. Food was not sufficient to all the people. So with which death rates have started increasing. So to control that, to remove the scarcity of food grains in the country, these high yield variety seeds were introduced. So what is the first impact it is having? Our agricultural production and productivity levels increased. Rice production, wheat production, maize production have increased double, triple times, where within 10 years, India could achieve self-sufficiency. So this is one impact Green Revolution is having on Indian economy. Second impact is it has created employment opportunities in the country, because as India is an agricultural economy and 70% of total population live in rural areas. As Gandhiji said earlier, 70% of India is rural India. right? In rural areas, agricultural is the main source of income to the people living in that areas. So, in these, as the agricultural production levels have increased, many of them have started cultivating, right? So, with that, as agriculture is following labor-intensive methodology, it created employment, especially when they produce these vegetables, fruits, rice. Labor is compulsory for that harvesting. So, it created employment in the rural areas. As you can see, the adoption of new agricultural strategy led to substantial increase in area under crops, production of food grains and agricultural productivity. The technology has given to boost the agricultural employment as labor-intensive crops like rice, sugarcane, potato, vegetables and fruits have increased the job opportunities in the agricultural sector. So in employment, you can see the labor-intensive crops. What are the labor-intensive crops? Such as vegetables, fruits, rice, right? So these all have increased the sugarcane, potato and all, etc. created or increased job opportunities in rural areas. So this is how employment is generated through green revolution. So because certain crops require labor, so as the productivity is increasing, cropped area also increased, means the area for cultivation also increased. When more area is cultivated, more labor are required for the production. So that labor is as the labor intensive crops are cultivated, it created more employment in the agriculture. And another impact green revolution had on Indian economy is improvement in farmers' income. Improvement in income of farmers. How farmers' income has increased? As the productivity levels are increased, farmers are able to produce good quality products, more production they are getting, and also support prices are given by the government for the productivity. So here, green revolution facilitated the farmers to follow scientific and technical ways. So it helped the farmers to follow scientific and technical ways like grading the product. When you do grading, grading means what? Good quality is of good grade, means best quality the product. As the quality is good, it will get more price. So grading is done. Also, it helped to remove the middlemen in the country. So middlemen between the farmer and the final customer, middlemen were eliminated, due to which farmers are getting better remuneration for their agricultural production. Okay, through scientific and technical ways, farmers are able to grade their product. As it is a high grade, high price is paid to them and middlemen are eliminated here, with which farmers are able to get the good remunerative prices for their production. So that way it has increased the income levels of the farmers. The farmers' income levels also improved over here. And another impact this green revolution had on our Indian economy is improvement in exports. Improvement in exports. As you see here, before 1960, India was in a position to import the food grain production. But as the green revolution, as this new agriculture strategy of high yield variety seeds were introduced, they are not importing. They started exporting. After India achieved self-sufficiency in food grain production, it started exporting agricultural products to the other countries, with which our what we can say international trade has improved over here. Good relations are maintained with the other nations. So as the export values have increased, India is used to export huge basket of food grains to and post Green Revolution, India exports have increased with Green Revolution. The value of export was 284 crores in 1960-61, whereas it increased to 2.7 lakh crore by 2018 and 19. You can observe the difference here. In 1960-61, 284 crores of exports. 284 crores of export was done in 1960-61, whereas it increased to 2.7 lakh crores. 2.7 lakh crores by 2018 and 19. Such a great impact means our export values also increased. As you all know, India is exporting tobacco, India is exporting jute, cotton, spices. These are the major agricultural products which were exported from our country. As you see, before 1960, what is the situation? After 1960, what is the situation? Before 1960, we used to import food grains. After 1960, we achieved self-sufficiency as well as we are exporting. Our export values also increased in the country. It contributes to our international trade. Okay. So this way, this is the impact the Green Revolution is having on our Indian economy. So when you write this answer, only 4 points are there to explain. This question may come for 10 marks or for 5 marks or for 2 marks also they may ask. Anyway, they may ask this question. If you are getting for 10 marks, you should explain all these points. For 5 marks also, in shortcut, you can explain the point. In 2 marks, if they give, just the introduction you write down, that is enough. What is Green Revolution? Introduction of high yield variety of seeds during 1960s to increase agricultural productivity and agriculture production. High yield variety seeds are combined with chemical fertilizers, which will increase the output in the country. So, as this Green Revolution, as the high yield variety seeds were introduced, what benefits the country is getting? What is the impact it is having on our Indian economy? First, there is an increase in our agriculture production. Agriculture production has increased over here, means our rice production, wheat production, maize production, oil seeds, these all output has increased per acre. So, in 10 years, India could achieve self-sufficiency in food grain production. And it create employment opportunities here because 70% of the population live in rural area. Their main source of income is agriculture. In agriculture, as the farmers are using high yield variety crops, labor intensive crops such as vegetables, fruits, rice, sugarcane and all created more and more job opportunities who are depending on agriculture. So as the employment is created to certain extent, people's income levels also increase. And improvement in income of the farmers, as farmers have started using these high yield variety seeds, they had the knowledge of, by using the scientific and technical ways, they started grading the products, right? As they started the grading the product, and middlemen were eliminated over here, with which farmers are getting good returns, remunerative prices for their output. Improvements, another impact is improvement in export. See, from the stage of importing food grain, it has come to the stage of exporting the food grain. That impact the Green Revolution had on our Indian economy. Clear? So this is all about our Green Revolution. It may come for 10 marks or for 5 marks also. This question may come. Hope you all understood this answer here. Okay, so after this question, now let us discuss another important question from this chapter for 5 marks, that is NABARD. This question is important for 5 marks. Okay, what is NABARD? NABARD is National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. Okay, so what is this national NABARD functions it is doing here? Generally, for agriculture, as we have seen, there is a low productivity in agriculture. Green Revolution was introduced to provide to increase the productivity levels. Now, when the farmer is increasing the output or when he wants to do the cultivation, financial support should be given to them. Means they should provide them with the proper finance. Credit facility should be given. In India, if you see, in rural areas, most of the farmers used to depend on private money lenders. What happens if they depend on private money lenders? They will charge high interest rate. They will exploit the farmers, right? And they may take the mortgage of the land which is owned by the farmers. So, so many drawbacks are there from the money lenders. That is the reason government has introduced institutional source of finance. Means certain banks were established to provide credit facilities and financial facilities for rural farmers, for development of rural areas, as well as to provide credit facilities to the farmers. This NABARD was set up by RBI as an Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation. So, RBI set up Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation. Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation, ARDC. Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation, to provide finance facilities to the banks to promote agricultural development. With the widening of bank and all, this NABARD was set up in July 1982. NABARD replacing Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation was set up in 1982. So remember, this NABARD was set up in 1982 by replacing Agricultural Refinance Development Corporation. What is the work of the NABARD? It will refinance the credit to the banks in the rural areas. Means in rural areas, whatever the banks are operating, for them, complete finance and guidelines, rules, regulations are provided by NABARD. Earlier, this was done by Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation, especially for development of rural areas and finance facilities to the farmers. So now, let us see the functions of NABARD. The functions of NABARD, what is the work NABARD is performing? Refinancing the banks. The first function is refinancing the banks for extension of loans. To provide loans to the farmers in the rural areas, they are refinancing the banks. And also, it provides loans to state government. Why it provide loans to the state government? And NGOs for development of rural infrastructure. State government, NGO for development of rural infrastructure. So just see here what it is performing. It will refinance the banks for extension of loans and investments and all. It provide loans to the state government, NGOs for development of rural infrastructure, and formal banking services are provided to the poor people by self-help groups. So formal banking services are provided to rural poor by SHG. What is SHG? Self-help group. Means through these self-help groups to the poor people, banking services are provided in the rural areas. And its function is inspection of RRBs. What are RRBs? Regional rural banks. Cooperative banks, regional rural banks, cooperative banks means it will conduct an inspection. It will check whether the finance is provided as per the requirement in the rural areas or not. It promotes watershed development. NABARD is promoting watershed development for increasing productivity levels in agriculture. Okay, for increasing productivity levels in the agriculture and profitability, because when the water is not sufficient, watershed development where water can be stored and these can be used when there are no proper rainfalls. So what is the functions it is performing? Refinancing the banks and extending the loans for investment purpose, provide loans to the state government, NGOs for development of rural infrastructure. It provides formal banking services to rural poor by self-help groups. Inspection of RRBs and cooperative banks are done, means to check how they are performing, and it promotes watershed development program for increasing the agricultural productivity. Few more functions we can see here. Supports technology transfer through Farmers Club. NABARD supports technology transfer through Farmers Club. Means here, as the technology, new technology is introduced, that technology is made available to the farmers with the help of Farmers Club. So, in every rural area, you see, every village and town, they will have a Farmers Club where the technology, what the new technology which will increase the productivity, which will increase the output in the agriculture, that technology is sponsored by NABARD. Means they will only pay the amount for that. That technology is given in the form of subsidy to the farmers with the help of Farmers Clubs. And another function, development of small scale industries, cottage industries, rural artisans by financial support. Means they will provide the refinance facilities to the small scale industries, not only agriculture. In rural areas, we also have small scale industries, cottage industries, rural artisans and all are provided by the credit facilities. They are provided by refinance facility, which is provided by the NABARD. And another function, coordinating the rural finance, coordinating the rural finance with institutions. So, coordinating the rural financing activities of all the institutions means what all institutions are there in the rural areas, how they are providing the financial support, how the refinance is given, how the finance is given to the these self-help groups and all, and how loans are given, how they are collecting the loans, how much of interest is charged. All these will be coordinated by the NABARD, means they will coordinate with all the rural institutions. So these are the functions of NABARD. To perform these functions, NABARD has introduced a concept, that is, they have extended the financial assistance through, RIDF. RIDF is what? Rural Infrastructure Development Fund. As we have seen in the functions, it will provide loans to the state government for rural infrastructure development. What is rural infrastructure development? In rural areas, there is a lack of infrastructure. Infrastructure means what? Transport, communication, banking, warehousing, which are required for agriculture. That is very backward. So, with the support of NABARD, finance is provided to the state government for development of rural infrastructure. Transportation facilities have increased. Also means state government will get the funds from NABARD for development of transportation facilities, for increasing the warehousing facilities in the rural areas. Also, various rural infrastructure projects like irrigation projects, which are very, very, very important for agriculture. Then watershed management, construction of rural roads and bridges. For all these, funds are provided to the state government by NABARD. So that is rural infrastructure development program which are taken up. Then microfinance is one more credit facility which is provided by the NABARD. Microfinance, see, this microfinance is important for your 2 marks. It is coming under NABARD only. Microfinance is the providing financial services on small scale to the rural and urban poor. It is provided for working capital, investments and savings. So you can see microfinance is providing financial services in small scale to rural poor for purpose of working capital, to purchase the inputs required for agriculture, for working capital, for investment purpose in small scale industries, cottage industries and all, also for savings purpose. Okay, so what is microfinance? Very, very, very important for your 2 marks under this. Microfinance is providing the financial services in small scale to the rural poor, including self-employment. So including self-employed people also. For working capital, to purchase the inputs which are required for their production, investment purpose as well as saving purpose. So this is the concept of microfinance which was introduced by NABARD, which was introduced by RBI in 1970. Small amount, like if they require minimum amount of 10,000 or 20,000, it is below 25,000 we can say. Okay, which is required for purchase of raw material by the small scale industries, or They need money to purchase the inputs like fertilizers or pesticides in agriculture. For such thing, small amount, because they don't want in lakhs. In agriculture, they require in a small amount. So that small amount is provided by the NABARD with that is called as microfinance. So the microfinance credit involves small loans up to 25,000. Microfinance includes it is small loans up to 25,000, which is provided through self-help groups. Right? Small loans up to 25,000 rupees with the help of self-help groups are provided through SHG. So this is the concept of microfinance. Just see once again, microfinance means providing financial services at small scale to the rural poor and the self-employed people for working capital, investment and savings purpose. They provide small amount of loans up to 25,000 rupees through self-help groups. So this is one more credit facility given by NABARD. And another credit facility, the other credit facility which is provided by NABARD is Kisan Credit Card Scheme. Credit card, you all might be having an idea about the credit card here. The amount was introduced in 98-99. It was introduced in 98-99 to facilitate the short-term credit to the farmers, to provide short-term credit to farmers. Kisan Credit Card was introduced in 98-99 to provide short-term credit services to the farmers. Commercial banks, cooperative banks, as well as regional rural banks are implementing this scheme. Okay, what all banks are providing Kisan Credit Card Scheme? Commercial banks in the rural areas are providing, right? Commercial banks, cooperative banks and RRBs have introduced this scheme of Kisan Credit Card. So Kisan Credit Card also you may get it for your 2 marks. So these are all how the NABARD is providing the credit facilities to the rural poor, right? So if you see the main important one, Kisan Credit Card. What is Kisan Credit Card? This scheme was introduced in 1998-99 to provide short-term credit to the farmers, and this scheme was followed by commercial banks, cooperative banks and regional rural banks, where they provide credit card system to the farmers. Credit card means what? First you purchase, later on we will make the payment, right? The same credit card system is provided to the farmers. That's why it is called as Kisan Credit Card. So just see the functions of NABARD here. NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. RBI in the beginning, they set up Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation. Later on in 1982, NABARD was set up by replacing Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation. So what are the functions of these NABARD here? Refinancing the banks for extension of loans for investment and production purpose. Extension of loans for investment and production purpose in rural areas. Extending the loans. As the farmers require loan, these small scale industry require loan either for investment purpose or for production purpose. So for all these, banks have to give the loan. Banks will get the refinance from NABARD, right? So that way, because these rural banks and all, they won't accept the deposits from the public. This NABARD won't accept the deposit from the public. They won't work as a commercial bank. They will just provide the finance. Okay. So RBI will provide finance, means NABARD is a separate organization which is providing finance to the rural banks. So refinancing the banks for extension of loans for investment and production purpose. It provides loans to state governments, NGOs for development of rural infrastructure. Formal banking services are provided to the rural poor by self-help groups. Self-help groups is a concept introduced by NABARD, where group of people, they save their money and that is used for investment or working purpose or anyone in that group. That is supported by NABARD. And inspection of RRBs and cooperative banks are done. Why inspection means? They will check whether they are working properly or not. So inspection of RRBs are done. Promoting watershed development for increasing productivity. Where the agriculture requires water facilities, where irrigation is backward and rain-fed areas will be there, their watershed development program. Store the rainwater and which is used when there is a scarcity of water. So, promoting watershed development for increasing productivity. Other functions, it supports technology transfer through Farmers Club. The new technology which was introduced in agricultural production, that will be provided, that complete knowledge, that complete education will be provided to the farmers. Any new technology was introduced, they will provide that in the Farmers Club so that farmers can get the knowledge, technical knowledge and all, how to utilize that. And the government provide, this NABARD provides these technology at subsidized prices to the farmers. So that is technology transfer through Farmers Club. And development of small scale industries, cottage industries and rural artisans by providing financial support. Means NABARD also provides credit facilities to small scale industries, cottage industries and rural artisans who are living in the rural areas. And it coordinates with the rural finance institution. How the rural finance is provided, how the institutions are working, what all institutions are there, all these will be coordinated with the NABARD. And how they provide the credit facilities, one scheme is Rural Infrastructure Development Fund. There, under the scheme of Rural Infrastructure Development Fund, NABARD provide finance to state government, which is helpful for development of infrastructure. Infrastructure such as irrigation projects, watershed development project, along with that, transportation, communication, banking and all are financed by the NABARD. Microfinance is providing financial services in small scale to the rural poor, self-employed for sake of working capital, investments and savings. And small loans are given up to, small amount of loans are given up to 25,000 through self-help groups. What is Kisan Credit Card? It was introduced in 1998 and 99, where credit cards are given to the farmers. It is a short-term credit. It is a short-term credit which is given to the farmers, and commercial banks, cooperative banks and regional rural banks have implemented the scheme of Kisan Credit Card. So this is about the NABARD. So when you are writing this answer, you have to write down these functions. So this question, very, very, very important for your 5 marks. Functions of NABARD. Just go through the functions of NABARD. So just see here, your questions, you remember how the question will come. Here for NABARD question will be, explain the functions of NABARD. What are the functions of NABARD? This is one question you will have. Then previous question is, so your previous question will be impact of new agricultural strategy on Indian economy. Right, this is one question. Impact of new agriculture strategy on Indian economy. One question. Another question you have, what are the functions of NABARD? Okay, so these are the two important questions from this chapter. So once just see here, first question what we have discussed, impact of new agricultural strategy or impact of green revolution on Indian economy. Green revolution means what? Introduction of high yield variety of seeds along with chemical fertilizers to increase productivity levels in agriculture. And this green revolution was introduced in India during 1960s. If you remember the year, you can write, or else you can directly write it as in 1960s. Okay. What is the impact it is having? Increase in agricultural production and productivity, employment levels in the country have increased, improvement in the income of the farmers' income levels have increased, and improvement in the export value. From importing food grains to exporting food grains, India has changed. So these are the impact it had on our Indian economy. So this is about your green revolution. Next is your NABARD functions. NABARD was set up replacing Agriculture Refinance Development Corporation in 1982. They refinance the banks, they provide loans, they provide banking services to rural poor, they inspect RRBs and cooperative banks, they're promoting watershed development. Also, this you can see in this main important question, you have to remember for 2 marks. This microfinance is important for 2 marks. Kisan credit card is important for 2 marks. Okay. And again, you will write this NABARD question for 5 marks. So hope you understood this answer here. Remaining questions we will continue in tomorrow's class. Okay, thank you.